Welcome to episode 26 of the Italian Americans in Hollywood podcast series. I'm Daley Giacopella, and my co-host is Sadie Bruni. Today we're going to be talking about Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, a really fascinating figure.
He really is, and I think one of the things that makes him so interesting is how he's managed to have such a successful career without that, that classic Hollywood leading man look.
Right, he doesn't fit the mold.
Not at all. But there's something so captivating about him.
It's those eyes.
Yeah, you can't talk about Steve Buscemi without talking about those eyes. They've become like his trademark.
They have. There's a certain intensity there, but also this vulnerability. You can really see a lot going on behind those eyes.
Definitely. And it's funny because when you think about his background, his story, it's so far removed from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood.
It is. I mean, he was a New York City firefighter.
Yeah, for 4 years. He worked with Engine Company 55 in Little Italy.
Imagine that, going from battling blazes to walking the red carpets.
And he went back to help after 9/11.
That's right. He volunteered for days helping with the search and rescue efforts.
It just shows you the kind of guy he is, that loyalty to his roots. And speaking of roots, we should mention his Italian-American heritage.
Absolutely. His paternal grandparents were from Menfi in Sicily.
It's interesting to think about how that background might have shaped him. His work ethic, his sense of family, his perspective on the world.
It's definitely a part of his story, even if it's not always explicitly there in the roles he plays.
So how did he go from firefighter to one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood?
Well, it wasn't an overnight thing. He didn't just suddenly decide to become an actor.
Right, there was a whole journey there.
Yeah, he actually studied acting in Manhattan at the Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute. He really put in the work, honed his craft.
So no silver spoon, no Hollywood connections, just raw talent and dedication.
And I think that's a big part of his appeal. He's the everyman who made it big.
The guy next door who just happens to be an incredible actor.
And he never forgot where he came from, even after finding success. He stayed true to himself.
That's clear. And I think it makes his performances even more powerful, knowing his background, those struggles, that dedication.
There's a depth to his work that comes from lived experience. You can see it in his eyes.
So we have this guy, a blue-collar worker from Brooklyn with Sicilian roots, and he decides to pursue acting. What were those early days like?
Well, he started out like most actors, taking small roles, doing whatever he could to get his foot in the door.
So did he just burst onto the scene?
Not really. His film debut was a small part in a movie called Parting Glances in 1986.
Okay, and what about TV?
He actually had a bit part on Miami Vice that same year.
Wow, Miami Vice, that's a classic.
It was huge back then.
So these are just small steps getting his name out there.
Yeah, paying his dues like any other aspiring actor.
And was there a moment where he realized, this is it? This is what I'm meant to do?
I think those early independent films were really crucial for him. They gave him a chance to shine, to show what he could do.
Do you have any examples?
Mystery Train and In the Soup are two that come to mind.
I've heard of Mystery Train.
Yeah, he got to work with Jim Jarmusch on that one, which was a pretty big deal.
And those films really helped him establish himself as a talented actor.
They did, but it was Reservoir Dogs that really put him on the map.
Ah, yes, Reservoir Dogs. That's the Quentin Tarantino film.
It is, and Steve Buscemi played Mr. Pink.
Mr. Pink, the one who refuses to tip.
That's the one. That role became iconic.
It did. And it's so interesting to think that Tarantino actually wrote that part for himself.
Can you imagine that Tarantino as Mr. Pink?
That would have been a completely different movie.
It would have. And who knows, maybe Steve Buscemi's career would have taken a different path.
Talk about a sliding doors moment.
But luckily for us, he got the part, and the rest is history.
Please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and watch our shorts, videos, and other podcasts on Italian Americans in Hollywood.
We'd really appreciate it. I mean, talk about a breakout role.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And you would think after a role that intense, that edgy, he might have gotten typecast.
You'd think so.
But that's not what happened at all.
No, he's defied expectations throughout his career. He's never been one to be put in a box.
And I think that's what makes him so fascinating as an actor. He's always surprising us.
He is, and he didn't shy away from those darker, more intense roles after Reservoir Dogs.
No, he actually leaned into them.
He did. He worked with Tarantino again in Pulp Fiction, although it was a much smaller part.
Right, the gimp.
Yeah. But then there are those incredible collaborations with the Coen brothers.
I mean, Fargo, The Big Lebowski, Miller's Crossing, he became like their go-to guy.
It's like he was born to be in their films.
He really was. And it's amazing how he embodies that Coen brothers style so perfectly. That blend of dark humor and quirky characters and, those moments of shocking violence.
It's a delicate balance, but he pulls it off every time.
Think about Fargo for a second.
Yeah.
I mean, his character, Carl Showalter,
Oh, yeah.
he's this bumbling criminal.
Or competent.
Totally. But then he's also capable of these acts of brutality.
It's chilling.
And Buscemi just nails that duality.
He does. And it's not just the Coens. He's worked with so many great directors.
That's right. Robert Rodriguez in Desperado.
Jerry Bruckheimer in Con Air and Armageddon.
I mean, he's held his own alongside some of the biggest names in Hollywood.
He has. He can do it all. Indie films, mainstream Hollywood comedy, drama, action. He's a chameleon.
He really is. And it's like he's always challenging himself, never content to just stay in one lane.
He's always pushing boundaries, trying new things.
So let's talk about his television career, because he's had some really memorable roles on the small screen, too.
Oh, absolutely.
The Sopranos was a huge turning point for him.
It was. His performance as Tony Blundetto was phenomenal.
He was so good in that role. So intense.
He won a Screen Actors Guild Award for that part.
And he was nominated for an Emmy, too.
Which is no small feat, considering the caliber of that show.
And he didn't just act in The Sopranos. He also directed several episodes.
He did. He's a multi-talented guy.
He is. And then, of course, there's Boardwalk Empire.
Now, that was a role that was practically made for him.
I know, right, Nikki Thompson?
The swagger, the cunning, the ruthlessness.
He just embodied that character so completely.
And he won a Golden Globe for that role.
And 2 more Screen Actors Guild Awards.
I mean, it was his time to shine.
He was the star of the show, the charismatic antihero.
And he proved that he could carry a series, be the leading man.
And he did it with such style and nuance.
It was a masterclass in acting.
And let's not forget about his voice work, because he's been in some pretty iconic animated films.
Oh, yeah. He's got that raspy voice that just lends itself so well to animation.
Monsters, Inc., Hotel Transylvania, The Boss Baby.
He's great in all of them.
He really is. He's got a knack for bringing those quirky animated characters to life.
It's amazing how he can go from playing a hardened gangster to a lovable monster and make it all believable.
That's the mark of a true talent, that versatility.
It is. And what makes him so fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
We never know what he's going to do next.
Please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and watch our shorts, videos, and other podcasts on Italian Americans in Hollywood. It's amazing, isn't it, how he's taken what some might consider an unconventional look and turned it into one of his greatest strengths.
Yeah, those Buscemi eyes, as they've come to be known, they're iconic.
They really are. I mean, you think of Steve Buscemi, you think of those eyes.
That kind of world-weary, seen-it-all expression.
But there's also a vulnerability there, a warmth.
There is. He's got this ability to convey so much emotion with just a look.
It's true. And it's funny because in a town like Hollywood, where everyone is obsessed with appearances.
Right, you have to fit a certain mold.
He's managed to completely subvert that.
He has. And it's made him all the more memorable.
I think it's inspiring that he's never tried to change himself to conform to some arbitrary standard of beauty.
It's a good lesson for all of us.
It is. And I think that's part of why people connect with him so strongly. He's authentic. He's genuine. He's not afraid to be himself.
And you can see that in his work, too. There's a realness to his performances.
Definitely. Yeah. Even when he's playing a character who's, not exactly a saint.
Right, those mobsters, those criminals.
There's still something about him that makes you want to root for him.
You see the humanity in those characters.
And I think that goes back to his own life experiences, his background as a firefighter.
I was just thinking that. It's like he's seen the best and worst of humanity.
And it's given him this depth, this empathy that he brings to his roles.
And let's not forget that he went back to help after 9/11.
Right. He didn't hesitate. He put his own life at risk to help others.
That speaks volumes about his character.
It does. He could have easily just stayed home, stayed safe, but he felt this need, this calling to be there for his city, his community.
It's a testament to his loyalty, his sense of duty.
And he's continued to be an advocate for firefighters over the years.
He has. He's narrated documentaries. He's spoken out about the importance of supporting first responders.
He's using his platform to make a difference.
And I think that's really admirable.
It is. So we've talked about his acting, his directing, his voice work, his advocacy. But what about Steve Buscemi, the man behind the persona?
Well, he's known for being pretty private.
Yeah, he doesn't exactly seek out the spotlight.
No, but we know that he was married to filmmaker Joe Andres for over 30 years.
Until she sadly passed away in 2019.
That's right. And they have a son together, Lucian.
Who's also involved in the arts.
He is. It's clear that family is very important to Steve Buscemi.
It is. And it's refreshing to see someone in Hollywood who's managed to maintain a sense of normalcy, a balance between their career and their personal life.
It's not easy to do, especially in that world.
No, it's not. But he seems to have found a way to make it work.
And I think that's a testament to his character, his grounded nature.
He's not caught up in the hype, the superficiality of the industry.
He stayed true to himself.
He has. And that's what makes him so special, so unique.
He's a true original.
He is. And his story is a reminder that success can come from the most unexpected places.
That you don't have to fit in to stand out.
You don't. And that sometimes the unconventional path is the most rewarding one.
It can be. And that being different is something to be celebrated.
Absolutely. So thank you for joining us for this look at the life and career of Steve Buscemi.
It's been a pleasure.
Please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and watch our shorts, videos, and other podcasts on Italian Americans in Hollywood.
We'll see you next time.